everyone, this is Fantastic Worlds, welcoming you back to Lovecraft Country and Cultist Simulator tips and tricks, and this time around we're doing the Exile, and this is going to be our longest run, because the Exile is unique among all other variants of this particular game. It is completely unlike everything that I've taught you, everything you know about Cultist Simulator, the base game, and all the other DLCs, has no meaning here. The only thing that actually is the same is the mechanics and the fact it's in the same universe. As that is to be said, first of all, we reached 850 subscribers, so hey, we've got another unlock, which will probably be a fourth Exile run. And I am doing the grimoire as we speak. The script's basically written, and I'm shopping for graphics for the particular one, because this isn't going to be a standard LP episode. This is going to be me going over the metaphysics of the Cultist Simulator world and how they compare to the real life metaphysics, and of course the game applications, because that's kind of what you really want for tips and tricks. The fluff is if you're really into the stuff. I might actually break it into two parts, where one is the fluff and one is the crunch, so you can get whatever you're looking for in this particular one. In any case, back to the Exile. And the Exile is a completely different story, because you're not playing a magician. You're playing what's known as a reckoner, which is an assassin, a mystical assassin, mind you, who has the ability to absorb the lives of those he takes, due to one of the death god's favor, into a kind of currency known at, well, God, I'm pulling a blank on this one. A kind of currency, a blood money, literally, that can be used for mystical purposes. In fact, it's somebody's life. You can save other people's lives, or you can use it to as blood sacrifice for some particular types of things. And we'll go into that eventually, but right now I'm going to show you the mechanics. This is going to be what I call the basic Fugitive Run. The Fugitive Run's only purpose is to get to the point where you can escape undetected from the Reckoners, because once you steal the money, once you start the game and run, you are going to be on the run for the rest of your life until you either die, kill the people after you, or manage to escape. Now, the easiest one to do is escape, and this will give me the opportunity, if I'm not concentrating on any other part of mechanics, to teach you how the basics of the Exile work, because like I said, it's completely different than any others. So, with that being said, let's pop into the beginning of the Exile. All right, right. The thing is, give me a moment. Options. Now, this part will be cut out, by the way, if you're listening live. I wanted to get to this, the Exile, sunset, time to go. Okay, so this is how we began. First of all, you notice that the map is completely different in the back there. Yeah, we are looking at Europe, and each one of these X's is a city that we could potentially enter in the game. Now, since I'm doing the Fugitive Run, we will be doing Richard Kimball will be the name of this particular run. It's our protagonist. And if you don't know that is actually the literal fugitive from the old game. All right, years, that's what they were called. Cindered Tally, 10 years of dedication. I'll get that in a second. First of all, as you notice that this does not look like one of our regular verbs, as they're called. Strangely, yeah, these are called verbs. This is called employ. It is not work. It is called employ, which means to make use of something. Because remember, we're not exactly doing a lot of odd jobs or we're on runs for our lives. We will occasionally be doing odd jobs, mind you. Strange as that may sound, especially if we can avoid being detected for long periods of time. But let's deal with the stolen year. A year of generously donated life, haha, as entered in the Cindered Tally. The Cindered Tally is basically the metaphysical component of what, on the mystical side of what you've done. Essentially, you've taken that year from somebody's life. Now, I don't think it's a 1-to-1 ratio, or it can be just anybody, because you could just kill, well, an entire orphanage of young children and basically have hundreds of these stolen years. So it's not just a straight up 1-to-1 equivalency. Is it 100-to-1? Is it only people who have mystical talent? Is it in some other ritual way to do so that makes it both rare and valuable? Because we'll find that you'll be able to spend these as a kind of currency in the Black Underworld. Now, we have 7 here, and we have of standard years, and we have 7 decades, and decades, of course, being 10 of them at once. Now, you notice down here at the bottom center / right, you're gonna see. Can you see? Yeah, you can see the cursor. Sometimes you can't. 77. That gives you a total of the number of years we have remaining. Of course, we can't get any more years because once we leave the institution, this area over here is a good place to keep them because it leaves off these pictures here There's your 77. This is what's called a trace. Now, trace is a betraying clue the pursuers might recognize. Reckoners appear more quickly and are much more powerful when there are more traces on the board. The foe. Now, the foe is our opposite. He is the head of the reckoners. He is the one we have stolen from, and he is pissed. He will come and kill us personally if he thinks he can confirm that we're there. A lot of times what we'll be dealing with is the lackeys, because they'll send lackeys across the world trying to find you. In fact, I'm willing to bet he's going to go deep into the red in this particular operation because he doesn't want people just stealing from him. I mean, it's one of the things. The people who have things know how easy it would be for their workers to steal from them, so they make examples of the ones who do. So what happens is that they'll lose more money, which ultimately means that their whole plan is destined to fail. By the way, if you're going to notice something a little off about the map that's right away gives you a clue, it's this particular one. There's a few spots here and there with cats and eyes and little details that will show that there's additional content, additional things that happened at certain locations. And we'll get there to this. But this, of course, is what we need. We did not just steal 77 irreplaceable mystical forms of currency for, funds, and we're not especially going to do it when we think unless we think we can get away with it. Now, obviously, every criminal thinks they can get away with it, which is why they do the crime in the first place. But in this case, we're not stupid. We had an escape plan. I need to get somewhere to be safe, at least for a little while. You'll notice, by the way, that's the opportunity, unrealized potential. Notice the color, it matches employ. There we go. From under their noses. Here, make it easier to see. My old Confederates are out searching for me. I hear their whistles and their finger snappings at every corner. The jive beat man. They're beat poets, murderous beat poets, the bastards. I'm going to call the foe Allen Ginsberg, except I actually know what his name is. It's you'll find it in the game. In fact, you're going to find there's a rich story behind this entire thing, but you have to work at it to get it if you don't just look it up online. And we're going to be doing it piece by piece, because this is going to take multiple runs, because you cannot control the game very well. So if I want to show you multiple endings, I'm going to have to do multiple runs, and I'm going to have to sometimes reset a run if I can't get what I want. So in the meantime, let's get this going, shall we? Okay, we're going to pause. The old rogue in Prague calls herself Tate Adeline, could use my help. Now, what this means is you'll notice it right away, which is good in this close-up. Prague opens up. Prague is a location card. The old rogue in Prague calls the Tate could use my help. Once you leave this currency, you never be available again. Now, there's something you're gonna have to know about this. Very important in this game. Well, we'll deal with these in a moment. This obviously is not good news, and neither is that. Okay, you notice that our old friend Time is against us, of course, it always is. Against us at all times, in all places, even in the real world. Why is this such an issue for you? Here, just better if we keep it down here, perhaps. Okay, we'll Prague here for that. We'll get to this one in a second. But yeah, these are city location cards. Understand this, because this is ultimately important for this game. You cannot get this card more than once. If you get this card as a possible destination and you don't use it, it's gone forever. All the things can happen in the game, and once you run out of all these cards, you're screwed because you have no other place to live, no other place to run. You've got to either complete your evasion or kill the people after you, and those are both not terribly easy. So this is a game in which you are going to take your time. In fact, I may go normal for a while here, just to first of all help catch up to what the rules are, and of course so that I can refresh myself. I've done a couple of pickup rounds of this, got killed twice at least, to be able to familiarize myself with the game again. But let's go into the situation as it is. Now we have 7 traces, which basically once you reach 5, you're pretty much fucked. They know you're there, and they send for the big guy to kill you. Even 1 is going to screw you up, because they'll know something's wrong, and they'll send an agent there to find you to get more traces, and then they start dumping minions to go out looking and or killing you. But a hostile move. The assassin is moving against us. Direct reckoner attacks cause wounds. If they succeed, they usually succeed unless you provide a card to defend yourself. You can also try to bribe them with a decade. They may get greedy. Never bribe them with a decade. Usually we'll take 2, and that's 20 of a of a currency you can't replenish. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to run, and I'll show you how to run in a moment. Time passes. The sun crosses the sky. Night pursues it. The one grace you have as the exile, by the way, is that you apparently do not require much to live, because funds, which we'll get to in a moment, funds aren't consumed every time this turns. All it does is when it goes to 0, it will search to see. We'll roll randomly to see if a reckoner agent has moved into the city. The more traces there are, the more likely a reckoner is going to run into you. Now, far enough and fast enough. I have more than enough cash for the journey, but I might need to travel light. Leaving a city will shake off your pursuers, but they'll eventually find you. Yep, we have 2 cash. These are not funds, these are cash. It's different. Now, one of the things that you don't notice because you're so used to that in the game of just thinking of it as money is that cash and funds, by the way, are ingredients. Where are they? Yep. Boom. You can use them, supplies. They're called supplies in this game because you don't actually do much conjuring, so to speak. But these things actually can be used for particular types of trips. They have 2 knock, which of course cash opens a lot of doors, after all. 2 forge represents, of course, the industry that that cash is based off of, for good or ill. And 2 grail, which basically means you can get what you want. It's also considered to be a worth, which is considered 1 worth. Everything in the game that has a cost that's material is called a worth. Basically, you cancel cash is worth 1 worth. You can use a barter system. We probably will at certain points in the game, in which you can shift something you've already bought. Let's say it's worth 3, you can spend it for 3 worth for something else. Otherwise, I exchange this object for that object because we are, of course, dealing only with the black market. And portable. This is an asset that might have to travel with you. Portable assets are important to understand. Portable assets are those that must be packed into luggage before you leave. So apparently this is a suitcase full of cash. Okay. I still think you can probably not have to take 10 seconds per suitcase to get it onto a train. But anyways, those are the rules of the game. And of course, asset. Something that won't object to being owned. Okay. A little bit of that. By the way, the verb is known as travel. Some travel is intended to broaden one's mind, other to lengthen one's life. This is the other case. Now, what we're going to do, obviously, is take the city card. And I will need cash, of course. Every time you do this, you will need at least 1 cash. If it's remote, you'll need 2. So keeping your cash up is important. Now, prepare to depart. We'll be doing this a lot, especially if people start shooting at us. Or, summoning things, or, conjuring dark forces on us. Now, one of the things I'm going to have to do during this game is that I am going to have to look up the individual cities. Like I said, I cannot memorize all of these. So, in order to be able to understand what each one has and the possibilities and what I can do, I will be have the wiki on the left side here open, simply because I need to be able to reminded what I can do. Now, one of the things you have to understand is when you reach a city, you are essentially only able to leave it for a direction of another city that's connected to it that you haven't been to before. If you've been there already, you've already burned it. They've seen you there. Now, remember, one of the reasons why that's the case is that we cable ahead very discreetly in order to speak to one of our contacts who's willing to help us out. Most of the time, there's like a few that don't have them, that's willing to help us out despite having a legion of assassins after us. I mean, that is friendship for you. I don't know if you'd do that. I don't know if I'd do that, but hey, these people are willing to do that to help us out. We obviously must have done something, in the past to be able to do that, but let's go. Prepare to depart. Time to go. I forgot anything. You notice immediately I may need this. It's called packing. We only have 1 asset at this time that requires packing. It takes 10 seconds to do so. We have 38 seconds before this assassin will attack. Notice that even after we get all of the items in place, it will take another 10 seconds for the train to get moving, or the boat, or whatever we're using to transport. So you got to time this exactly right. But what will happen is that we will lose both the pursuers and the trace. Now, we don't know where we are right now when we do this. Let's assume that since we're going to Prague, let's see, where's Prague? It doesn't glow. Doesn't glow, unfortunately. Come on. Since we're going to Prague, we got to assume that we're probably somewhere in like the better part of Germany. Remember, this is pre-war Germany. It's much bigger. It'll be carved up a bit after World War II. Anyways, so shall we continue? Unpause. Now, as you'll notice that I'm working on normal speed, like I said before, simply because we're going to have to get an idea. As you can watch, it can be very nerve-wracking, by the way, to watch this go around, because he could... Some of these reckoners can mess you up, especially if they steal some of your items. That's probably what I dislike as much. I mean, wounds heal, but stuff stolen's gone, and some of the items are unique. Boom. Now, when you get this symbol right here, that pretty much means that farewell, departure. You're in your last departure. It takes 10 seconds for it to confirm, by the way, you have no other assets, then another 10 seconds to do so. So, all right, it's 20 seconds you must add on So it's 10 times as many items as you need to pack, plus 20 seconds, this amount of time. This, of course, is very important when your people are trying to murder you, such as this guy over here. But we'll be gone in 9 seconds, and he's going to be at 17 seconds. So we're just going to make the train before he does. Train to Prague, mind you. Okay, so, and boom. Arrival takes another 10 seconds, but since, yeah, this guy's gone, you really have much to worry about. Of course, we leave the assassin on the train platform, and, you know, we get to live another day. And then we arrive in Prague, and our problems just really start. Notice another verb has opened up. We'll get to that in a moment, but at the moment, we've arrived. Tantie Adinel is a... I've probably butchered that, and I apologize in advance. It's a spare-eyed, bared-neck, florid-cheeked mountain of a woman. Oh, good stock. With incongruous, sweet voice. Here to crack some heads for me, she says enthusiastically. Yeah, one of the things about, you're going to notice some of your contacts. Now, this one's not a unique contact. Tatiana is just considered a connection to the underworld. These have their assets, of course. Now, first thing you're going to notice that we'll go over, it's an asset. We don't actually own her. Basically, it's a favor we're calling in. They're worth 6 knock for applications and 8 edge. They're good at getting into places because they can hire people to do that, and they're good at killing people. And their moth means they're good at deceiving people. Connection means that we read that we ought not to forgive our enemies, but we do not read that we ought to forgive our friends. Cosmio Diamenti. Yes, never forget your allies. They're Wookiee. And assets deception. This is important. There's nothing more deceptive than an obvious fact. Arthur Conan Doyle. Anything with aspect can be used to defeat traces. Now one of the biggest things we need to do is defeat traces, but there's another thing we have to do with anything that has a assist deception tag, which is most locations and most contacts. Now this is the one cache we have left, and obviously we're going to need more before we get into that, and this is Prague. Prague, when you arrive, is the city of 100 spires, flexing its republican muscles in the benign gaze of Masaryk and his castlemen. I don't know the politics in the Yeah, by the way, this happens canonically 2 years before any Cultist Simulator game. This is like 1923, arbitrarily set, by the way, by the devs. So there is that. I did look it up. And 1925 for Cultist Simulator. So essentially, 1923, this is a pseudo-republican under a pseudo-benevolent dictatorship. Probably the best you're going to get in Eastern Europe at this time. Statues watch and watch the bridges each night. Or two. God, it tore apart the architecture. A lot of the things you see in Eastern Europe are actually reconstructions because the Nazis had this thing about trying to erase other people's history. This is Europe's heart, and for a while longer it will beat for Cheery Vicar. Yeah, the thing is that a lot of these are written in retrospect. Place of residence, I'm here for now, is written in retrospect. In other words, we know World War II is going to happen. It's quite possible that, you know, the timeless entities of that. But we have the connection as our asset, and we have cash. Now, cash is going to be, obviously, our problem in a lot of ways. 2 types of currency we must keep track of, cash and decades. Notice that decades, years cannot have no assets. They cannot be spent for magical purposes or other types. It's a cold old word out there, but I know a few tricks. Reconnoiter. This is the verb. Reconnoiter means is that we are essentially going to a place and scoping things out. Keep in mind every time you do that, you risk getting spotted. There we go. Reconnoiter. Knife secret. Yes, this is our only lore, edgelore, which makes sense if we're a mystical set of assassins. I'm no adept, but I've had to kill a few adepts in my time. You pick up things as you go, and that is 2 edge. It is mystical knowledge. It can be used in multiple ways. Now, that is an asset that, notice it is a thing we have, but it is a lore. It's not an asset. We do not need to pack it. It's in our head. We carry it around with us as long as we keep our head intact, which of course is going to be the challenge in this game. Now, relinquish. Somebody took a shot at me as I got out with the years. I'd almost forgotten. All right, so relinquish means that we basically spend something. We give up something for something else. And again, this is a game we explore with. I've got a lot of the tricks down. May not get all of them. Relinquish. I've changed the dressing. I can move well enough. I could wait for it to heal, or heal stolen years if I'm lucky. It'll take a whole decade, and it'll certainly be noticed. Hell no. Thing is, wounds in this game are how you live and die. Notice it's 1200 seconds. It's going to take 10 minutes of game time to get rid of. But the thing you want to also notice, it's got applications. 4 knocks. Every wound is a door in this game. So every time we bear a wound, we have 4 edge to play with. And 4 winter, the aspect of silence and death. Okay, we get 7 of these, we're dead. You'll notice that, by the way, there is a counter for that. We have 1, but the wounds normally will heal. Note that I say normally, because there are wounds that don't heal. Again, this game has a lot of complications, but we're not going to probably get into a lot of them in this particular run, simply because I'm trying to just do the basics. The last verb has shown itself. 5 verbs like we had before, and so I'm trying to spread them out so we can have the X's unhindered. The last one is communicate. I have excellent resources not to contact anyone from my old life. That may change. When this opens up, this basically means we're contacting people who we think will assist us against that. Notice that, by the way, there's the house, apparently by a magic marker, driven on the map, and we will be able to erase it when we go. I'm kind of curious if this will keep. I've never actually paid that much attention to the map behind me because I usually am doing this by the numbers. But the idea being is that there's do they actually mark the ones we've been to so we know we can't go to them again? All right, but yeah, we're doing that. And while this is all going on, we have to decide what we're going to be doing. Now, there's a bunch of... Now, remember the old trick, by the way, is that you can pick these cards up and see where they're supposed to go. See, they can go places. Now, you see that right there? I will not be doing that for this run. I'm saving it for the next run because that opens up an entirely different branch other than the Fugitive Run. And the relinquish my wound, and there's prog, which is reconnoiter. And this, ooh, what's this? Take a stolen year, and we put it here. Raise cash hurriedly. Selling lifespan directly for cash gets a lower price and will quickly draw reckoner attention. Unless I find a better alternative, I should do it as little as possible. But we are going to need cash. There's 2 things that you need to do the moment you step into a city. You'll notice there's, even without a trace, by the way, there's like a 10% chance every time that wheel at the bottom left goes that I get a reckoner. And there's a chance that they'll skip by because there's no other traces. And there's a trance they'll just sit there and start tracking them. Now, a couple things we need to do here, like I said, is we need to... Here, I'll speed that up for now, but like I said, I want to get in the habit. All right, communication. Temptation escape. Temptation escape is, of course, what we need for ascension. I've stolen a fortune in years from a reckoner lord who trusted me. He'll pursue me across continents, but even his reach has limits. Achieve 7 obscurity to send your taunting message to your reckoner foe. Disappear forever and win the game. That is our win scenario for the fugitive. Get 7 obscurity, which we'll go into when we get there, as quickly as possible. Note, the ones that get you that will give you obscurity are assist deception. But the funny thing is that we have to get a trace first. So one of the things I'm going to be doing simultaneously here is when you essentially in this game, when you first arrive anywhere, whatever secrets, whatever special scenarios that you really want to do, you're not going to be able to accomplish. Which again, if you get the wrong one, like Amsterdam, killer first is a killer for one particular scenario. But the thing is, Prague's not that bad since it's not a unique location, so to speak. But this one you're going to have to burn just for the cash, and if you're doing it for the obscurity. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to reconnoiter Prague simultaneous with selling one of the years for cash. There we go. Get that into place and get the stolen year. Boom. That takes 60 seconds. So you can now keep this in mind because timing's important. When this goes, the 60-second mark, you probably got a trace. 90% chance, at least 70. But I honestly, when I've been doing this, I haven't looked at the code, but it feels like 90% chance. So boom. Now we're not going to be doing anything else except when this comes around again, I'll do what I should have done at the beginning, as I said I was going to do, and get our escape location completed. Sheesh. First moment. I know, I've been out of practice. I was doing do a bunch of other recording, which unfortunately, means that I get kind of distracted. And boom. There it is. That's going to blow a trace. Now, one of the things is I do want to have it blow a trace. Now, this Prague and opportunity for an official connection. I can always use more friends. Now, opportunities. Notice it goes over to employ. It says purchase with years. So yeah, I do, however, want this official because that also will receive deception. I can burn these 2 with that trace to create an obscurity, which in fact will be what I do in just a moment. So while that's happening, of course, I should have done what I should have started with and get direct messages from discrete messages. If I run, I should have somewhere where I have an old friend or at least an old acquaintance. Basically setting up my exit strategy while I'll simultaneously be making a new friend to help with my old friend. Tratiano probably introduced us. Anyways, you're going to notice very quickly, by the way, traces come up fast in this game. All right, so while that's going on, we'll have a second trace. Boom. And there you go. The reckoners are here. I've been careful. It must be sheer luck. 10% chance, like I said. And if we don't ditch that trace before we want both traces, they're almost definitely going to be here. Boom. We got one trace. But once we get the 4 seconds over there done, and boom, we have the connection official. Official is 6 Grail because government officials, they can get you what you want for a price. It's an asset. I don't own him. I'm not into slavery, but it has assist deception, also 6 Lantern. So they're kind of the opposite end of the Underworld ones, which is one of the reasons why they work so well together. Anyways, so one thing you'll learn about this game, or mysticism in general, is that opposites balance. But one of the things I'm going to have to do, now since I've got the trace going, and this is probably going to blow everything, once we get, I'm going to go into frenzy mode once I get the travel card up and going. Now, one of the things that, by the way, you might have noticed when I move that is, yeah, I can, if I want to, bribe this guy for potential opportunities. Again, also with this connection, I can burn that with means and location. Like I said, we probably won't be going to that a lot in this run because we're just concentrating on escaping, but that will produce an entire different branches of possibilities. Okay, so, and I'm gonna have to go back to fast speed. Think I've caught up at this point. Found it. Cache and no trace. Wow, we can actually might be able to get away with this. No, not provoke my connections. Take a trace, put it into relinquish, because we're going to try to get rid of it. What we need are 2 cards that have the assist deception. And you notice that, like before, glowy glowy, but you need 2 of them. We're going to burn both connections to cover my tracks. My Confederates will help manipulate the necessary records. These are gone. Now, there's 2 states, by the way, for connections. We burn them, they're gone, or we tap them, as you might say with Magic the Gathering terminology, which I guess we have to use another year in order to be able to restore them. This is going to burn them, but we're going to want that because now this trace is not showing. Since there's 0 traces, since we got lucky, by the way, for this scenario, that means that we might be able to lose him. Let's see if it works. All right, our next destination is Vienna. Vienna is kind of a thing where it's a good place to have in mid-game. Early game, not so much, because I believe it's got, yeah, we'll have a couple of unique things that I will not be ready for at this time, but we will make do. We will, sorry, I got 2 windows. Occasionally they can get linked. Okay. Ooh, that's gonna be interesting. I'm so tempted to do something I'm going to save for another run, but yeah. What we're going to do, by the way, since we have no traces on the board and somebody lurking, is we're just going to sit down for a minute. Now, we have Vienna, and we want to double check. As I expected, it was that. See, it's got a location, destination, but if it has remote, then it's 2. It was the White City once. They called it, then they call it Red Vienna. There's still a Lygean there, and the scars of the Worm Wars are still visible to those who know. Now, the Worm Wars are an alternate universe conflict between worms that possess bodies and also have kaiju-sized monster forms that were created when the sun was murdered by their lover, the Forge. And that is a story I am not going to try to tackle right now. It will be a story we eventually will, I'm pretty sure. But if I'm going to die, let's see the old place once more. Okay, so, yeah. Now, I could, obviously, go back here and ask for additional cards, but like I said before, there is no, just make sure we have the funds for it. These funds become untouchable till we leave, of course. There is no going back once we do that. We have to choose one of the cards you pick. The other ones are then unavailable for the entire game. Now, as we are let's just get the clock moving on this regard. So we still have cover our tracks going, which I believe takes the trace off the board, and we'll see if our gentleman here, the informant this is called, the informant we can't kill directly, but we can kill others directly. Of course we need a weapon for that, and I'm unarmed, because of course I am. Why would I want a weapon when I'm running from a bunch of assassins? They're gonna start looking for traces, which means I believe once we get through here, they'll eject one, and then I'll begin my exit strategy, as I like to call it, which is basically suck as much as we can dry out of the city before we go. I'm going to wait till I have absolute confirmation on that, though. Now, the one advantage is I don't have to look at the one on the left anymore. Okay, there we go. Reinforcements. Yep, they managed to pick up over here, which means at this point in the game, all we're going to be doing is try to grab as portable assets as possible to get the hell out of here. Remember, we're going to have one asset, which is 10 seconds plus 20 seconds, 30 seconds to get out of here. The more I pick up, the harder it'll be to leave. But on the other hand, we need stuff. We really do. Fast forward this one, because essentially this part is just a waiting game. You notice that I'm not, like the usual game, trying to maximize what I do. The more I do in this game, generally the harder it gets for me. So all of my actions, boom, obscurity. There we go. This might be the only defense against a Rectum Lord. I don't need defense at all. Basically, these are the obscurity cards. Basically, what we've done is we've covered our tracks, the paperwork. Now, the thing is about obscurity is that if you get an assassin or an agent or someone else here, the first thing they'll do is they'll suck down your obscurity before they do anything else. So it ends up as kind of a buffer. But that also means you're going to lose it. You saw how expensive it was. We're already down 2 years as it is. And let's see, reconnoiter Prague. Let's see if they've got another possibility here. Now the additional trace I'm not worried about. Medical credentials. Ooh, yes, getting those early is awesome. But I kind of need a connection, a ruler, which I will never get, by the way, because those are too expensive to be useful, and an official connection. Now, the only way to do this, of course, because once we leave, we don't have access to it, is to pray that I get an official connection. Yes, I had to burn our official connection for the obscurity. If I'd had more options with other cards, I'd have done it, but I don't. Now, the reconnoiter is done. You are going to launch a trace, which means that we're going to have an assassin here shortly. Will 30 seconds... probably refine at the moment, but what we also will do is we will attempt to raise cash early. Now that's going to take 60 seconds, and that's a question whether I want to do it. It's going to delay our exit. We're going to have an issue. We don't have a weapon plus one obscurity in the card. Yeah, we might just want to book it at this point. Now it's 30 seconds. It's going to still take a little bit. We probably have those 60 seconds if we really want to use them. If I do them right now, it's 40, 20, yeah, barely, but we do have them. All right, so in that case, we will launch this stolen year into this position, and we'll see what we can accomplish in that time. Now, I'm unlikely to be able to obviously get rid of that trace, so let us continue. All right, so one success for reinforcements. They've done that successfully, and now we have assassin, I believe. Wait. Yep, this is straight up attacker. This is okay because he's going to do wounds, which will heal, obviously, if he gets his attacks through. In the meantime, we just have to last another 40 seconds. Normal, by the way, since we're in tension. But unfortunately, if we don't leave in 30 seconds, we leave the obscurity, which is quite expensive. So, what we probably should do at this point is simply go. Now, again, it's going to take... I don't know whether ties count for this. Gonna hope so. Let's see what happens. Hey, we all learned something. By the way, over here, we can purchase a menacing icon, and I would love to do so if I have any cash, because it's an item we can take with us. We will have it in 29.3 seconds, though, but we could be in a problem at that point. I'd lose that obscurity, and yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to lose that obscurity. Again, this is going to show how quickly things can go wrong against you in this particular game. And let's see, what do we have here? We might actually be able to launch. I wonder if we'll lose the year, though. Unfortunate. We might lose that year before we go. And do we? Boom. Unfortunately, we lost the obscurity, as I feared we would. And we lost the cash. Oh well. It's a bad opening for the game, but at least you can see how difficult the damn thing is. So, Prague is a bust. We lost our cash, we lost one of our years, we nearly got ourselves stabbed, and now we're in a particularly interesting place called Vienna. Let's see, where are we? 3 minutes? Okay, Vienna. One of those few cities has the same name in every history, every timeline, if you believe that sort of thing. For a long time, it was the heart of the dual empire. For the longest time, the Adepts have known it as the White City, but now it's Red Vienna under the First Republic, and the streets are bright with dawn. Yeah, it's going to get a little harder in the future, but we still have one cache. Now, like I said, the first thing you do when you pop in is that you send discreet messages to get your exit strategy. Because that's what you do. And you're going to need at least 1 cash to do so, so we got to basically consider this a burn strategy. Now let's talk about Frau Schussel. You know her from the Apostle games as being one of the Lygians, the Suchana's sisters. So Frau Schussel has lived here long before the siege. If I don't call her attention, perhaps I'll be safe. She's a distraction, which means we can use her to deal with issues. And in fact, that might give us a little bit of extra time to deal with situations. Lygian presence, I don't know what precisely Lygian club is, but all records do know that its members are older and hungrier than any of our mobs. We've learned to avoid them. And is an opportunity. Now, no, of course, we can engage her, but not sure we want to. That just, by the way, reserve will renew the counter on this to allow you to do so. And by the way, the counter for the wound, it tells you how long we're going to be carrying this damn thing around. But again, it's an asset for certain scenarios. Any case, so the question is, do we want to burn or do we want to hold? Now, if we burn, basically I'll be doing to try as much cash and as much stolen as possible. Now, the Frau actually gives me a little bit of a safety margin here. It's kind of going to be interesting, and I'm no doubt I'll show you exactly what it's going to do. But one of the things we can do is we can see about, let's see, 30 seconds for that. It's 30 seconds for a reconnoiter. I don't have anything else. I think we can work with this. With no obscurity, we have kind of an option here. We've lost this obscurity that we got before. I was kind of hoping to be able to keep it, but since we need 7 to win. But we'll see what we can accomplish. Anyways, so first of all, let's take, well, I can't do that from here. Do I want to take and do the stolen year? Because that's 90% chance of getting cash. Now, the first thing I want to do, by the way, let's break down a stolen decade to singles. Stolen life is more easily sold by the year than the decade. I have the tools to make the necessary changes, but I must be careful with my pen strokes. She who comes before the sun looks unkindly in sloppiness. The magical, one of the death gods that were created, of course, by the slaughter of the sun. There are 4 death gods that were created, I believe. 4 is death, obviously, in the Eastern cultures. So, yeah. Decades cannot be sold. Years cannot be used to heal wounds. Years cannot be converted back into decades. But I want those 10. So we're going to do that as well. And we're going to pause. I mean, not pause. We're going to undo the pause. Hopefully we don't have one of those randos walking into town like it did last city. Sometimes you can have an entire run strategy spoiled in seconds in this game. Yeah, it's all about adapting, and it's all about accepting that occasionally you're going to lose. Even if you're playing the game at top notch, you're going to lose sometimes. Excuse me. Ugh. Forgot to bring my coffee and my tea up to this one. Sorry, coffee and water up to this one. Okay, where are we? All right, so this is going to do this. Okay, obviously, it's done. I've carefully dropped from 10 careful drafts against the tally, but burnt the decade draft. For each of my new drafts is worth 42 million human heartbeats. Year. Fancy I can hear them trembling in the paper. Yep, it's the power of heart in those, but we can't access those directly. 6 decades and 14 years. I just don't. I like having a lot of these years around us, but I stand into Count Jacob Jennings. Now, this is Count Jennings from the base game, the guy who will pay us for edge and heart lore, and will teach us Latin because he is a doctor as well as something else entirely. But they meet in Munich. Munich, of course, is located there. We're moving closer into the German states, as it were. Now we pull out Vienna. It's no longer our destination. That is, of course, we will go. Confirmed? Yep, so it only requires 1 cash. So, what now? We have an exit. We have a possible distraction here to survive. So we have to decide what we're going to do with this. Since we have the distraction, I'm going to call this a burn. We're going to try and make as much money and opportunity as possible. Possibly get another obscurity if we can try that using Frau as a shield. So, first thing to do is let's raise the cash hurriedly because we have no other options to raise cash at this time. Then we're going to reconnoiter Vienna. And again, I'll do fast forward since this is part of the waiting game here. Once we get the reconnoiter done, we can decide what we're going to do about it. And that can be another distraction, or it can be an opportunity to purchase something, or it can be something else entirely. In this case, a quiet warehouse. Now, the quiet warehouse is a price of 2. Price, value, plus a reasonable sum for the wear and tear of conscience in demanding it. Bierce. Oh, God. Devil's Dictionary. Check that out sometime. Bierce is a man who cannot be explained in a few minutes, but suffice it to say that he was the master of snark before Mark Twain was, and not only that, the man managed to die mysteriously. It's a hard thing to explain, but read the Devil's Dictionary by Bierce if you want to have some old-time amusement, because everything he says, let's see, God, when was that put out? Oh, God, over 150 years ago, I think is still true today. Tell you something about the human condition. One of the reasons why he drank so much is okay. I can lease space here out of the way. A warehouse provides significant space. It's a good place to rest up or work on a noisy project. Also provides hardened forage. Now, that can be used for other things too, but well, let's see what else we have. Now, this is a possibility to pay with cash. So what I will usually do is I'll put it over here. Okay, over here. Get rid of that X stays in place. And then I'll put additional cash beyond what I need for travel here, which we obviously don't have any, but let's see what else we can find, shall we? I think it's about a 30% chance every time we do this, we're get spotted and grab a trace. But, you know, what are you going to do? You can't stay under in a tunnel in dire life. I mean, you could, but it just wouldn't be as much fun. All right, we have a trace being generated, but we have one cash. That one cash goes over here for assets. This is 2, so we couldn't even buy it if we wanted to, unless we wanted to burn our ticket out of here. We will not be burning our ticket out of here, but we will be buying a gun. It's much easier to find firearms now since the war. He's referring to World War I, which has just happened. Okay, so yes, 1 cash is worth 1 worth. So therefore, I can exchange this for a gun, and we will be buying that. Now, it's an asset, by the way, so which means that we will have to pack it, but we're just trading it for an asset that is cat. While we're doing this, we don't want to waste any time, which is why I should be running normal. Get that converted. Get this stolen. Get another cash to go. And another reconnoiter. This is a burn. We're going to burn. Let us burn. Okay, traces on the board. We have only so much time. Now, with no obscurity, he's going to directly come after us, but I'm kind of ready for that. All right, so profane weapon. Profane weapon. A prosaic weight. I mean, basically means if you don't have bullets, it's just a paperweight. Portable asset. We have to pack it. Asset. Of course, it is something that we own. 2-edge. It's a murder weapon. A weapon, reach for the book is a weapon, but I'll take a gun too. Worth and profane weapon, a fine weapon, but a worldly one. Ordinary weapons can harm most of your foes, but not most of your enemies, but not your foe. Yeah, we can't. The foe is an immortal of the edge, which basically means that they are a creature of violence itself and essentially a minor demigod. So that's who we pissed off. We are not a minor demigod ourselves. We are very mortal, but we now have a gun. And that's an asset. So I'm going to put it over here as remind me that we do have to pack it. We now have 1 thing to pack because we don't have any further cash. And means a 30-second exit route. Now notice if I buy the warehouse, I obviously can't keep it with me. Okay, that was a little strange. All right, so in the meantime, we're going to continue our burn strategy of seeing how much we can get before we're forced out. Using Frau Schlussel. Anybody who speaks the appropriate language, feel free to correct me on the pronunciation. I'm trying to learn. I mean, I did manage to actually get erudition. Yeah, I've still got that tick. Erudition down. I can learn. Anyway, so, and boom. All right. Asset. Underworld connection. Now, I'm putting that over Stolen Year because that's how much it will cost. Now, the thing is, I could buy the warehouse and warehouse, by the way, will be considered a quiet warehouse, which means it will assist in deception, which I could connect it with this underworld connection, but I don't have the cash. I'm unlikely to get it by the time we need it. I can, of course, since this is worth 1, trade the weapon and one other thing of 1 asset to get the warehouse if it's important. In the meantime, I just want to shoot the guy who comes after me, okay? I mean, seriously, let's put a bullet into a few of them. I hope that at least to become a little more cautious. In any case, since we're just waiting on to be detected on this taint, let's see what else we can do. Since we're just sitting here, I'll put us in fast speed. So a little faster, obviously. There we go. There's the trace. Just 1 slip. I've been careful, but not careful enough. All right, so basically that's the flavor text you get when they're summoned by 1 trace. Now, the thing is, of course, as long as the trace is out there, they'll get more, they'll summon more people, and we'll have to deal with it. I mean, it's just going to be another headache, but we got a couple of things in our favor at this point. Frau does not like reckoners, and I'm guessing she probably... the thing is about that, since we're... 2 assets, by the way, 40-second exit strategy. Do we risk losing another year? I think we could do that with Frau. So we want another cash. Boom. And what do we have here? Ooh, definitely need that. Odd little bone worth 2. This is a magic item, and if you actually remember, let's see, let's move Munich up here, I guess. If you actually remember from the game. This is a level 4, I believe, forge tool, possibly level 8, and I can purchase it. Now, as a reckoner, we are not a magician. We can't use magic, but we can use magic items. We know how to empower them for effect. So that's going to be another situation. Now, again, we can't buy that because unless we have one more cash, we will have one more cash in 60 seconds. Frau will probably give us the opportunity to do so, and so I'm probably going to nab that, because one of the things about the game is if I carry one item worth 2 rather than 2 cash, it only takes 10 seconds to load and not 20 seconds. So we're going to try to get that knocked off. In the meantime, just see what else we can grab. Boom, go that way. All right. While this trace over here adds up, which means that 2 traces means that we can potentially have him summon an assassin next. Well, hey, more the merrier, right? I mean, I've still got 6 wounds. I don't know for how much longer, mind you, but all right. So secluded villa. 8. Oh my god. Significant space, forge, heart and grail. I don't need to buy a mansion. I need to leave that. I need to leave town. Why are you trying to sell me things? Gods. Anyways, let's try it again. Stop selling me. Oops, here we go. The search. Okay, so they're still in search mode, which means they're not summoning at the moment. We're going to have the option to be able to do this. And we will buy that funny little bone. Reinforcements will take them 40 seconds to get here, but once we've got the bone, I'm out of here, basically. With possibly one exception. All right, 3rd trace. We're starting to get real bad here, but what we're going to do is buy the bone instantly, because we still have the cash to leave. Don't sell your last cash unless you're absolutely sure of what you're doing. Boom. But this will only take 10 seconds and give us a much more portable item than cash. Now, what we got here? Dawn. Now, this is going to be kind of interesting, but dawn, sunset, and dawn, high noon, and dusk are actually potentials. Now, one of the things we can do with this is that we can just use it as a straight 4 knock, 4 lantern influence, so that's very link, or we can convert it. We can allow it to be converted into fascination, I believe. Now, fascination is usually a killer thing when you're playing Cultist Simulator. Ooh, hello, if anybody's out there. They say there are 3 people out there. I don't know if that's true or not. But the point of the fascination is that it kills you if you have the appropriate card. It doesn't kill a reckoner. Reckoners cannot be eliminated by any amount of dread or fascination. It just doesn't affect them because they're too grounded in the material realm as they're not magicians. One of the advantages of being a mundane is the universe you tend to not get freaked out by the nature of the universe because it's just the universe. What are you going to do about it? And when you think you can actually do something about it, that's when you start getting a little crazy. Do I risk another stolen year? Oof. Yes, because I have the Frau, I will risk another stolen year. Call her she probably doesn't like being called the Frau. 3 traces. All right. This is now our odd little bone. Yep, it was the 8 point. So, it's tiny, fragile, but it packs a hell of a wallop. It is an asset. It is portable, which means you have to pack it. It's got 4 grail. It's worth 2 for barter purposes, and it's a forge item. Of 8. Now this is comfort. Basically, comfort, you'll notice, is the second indicator down here, whereas obscurity is on the left. The second indicator for comfort right here indicates that it is the registers how happy our possessions make us. Now, right now, we have a bone that makes us feel happy, which, by the way, looks like an ear bone. But I'm not even entirely sure why. I mean, it's probably just the magical energy that's soaked up with it. But hey, whatever makes this guy happy, frankly, the gun would make me more happy. Now, notice the Frau Streusel, I only have 72 seconds left. But what I want to do is go to the dawn. There's something on my mind. If I start here, I can put temptation in. And thoughts of peace. It's been a long time since I knew peace. This could be a fresh start. Basically, one of the reasons our character, we can make it canonically, by the way, is the escaped, as we can say they're tired of being an assassin. They've known nothing else since ever, and that's part of the big story, so I'm not going to spoil any parts of that, except to mention that part. And this particular run, the Fugitive Run, just basically means he wants to run away from it all. That's his decision. He's how he doesn't want to live his life this way anymore, and he's just hoping to get some cash, which is comfort, basically, in this case, because it's not cash straight up. It's ironic that cash doesn't give you comfort. I mean, honestly, I think that would be the biggest thing, obviously, in this sort of capitalistic system where life itself is currency, but it's not. He's kind of a connoisseur. It's like art items with things that are in the most. But let's talk about what happened over here. First, there's the temptation escape. Now, if you put the other temptation, which we won't be getting into in this particular run, into this one, then you get another sort of solution. But instead, you get tranquility, which is an influence, which is 4 winter and 4 heart. And leaving a lifelike mind, there are moments when it's possible to think, what may come, may come. Right, so it is a temporary asset. I didn't put temporary assets down here. It does not require packing because it's a state of mind, but it won't vanish when we leave the place. Now, let's see. Now we got to deal with whatever's going to happen here. Oh, Frau. I definitely want to regen her. 30 seconds to do so. We've got the time. I don't want her to burn out because she's part of my strategy to try to make as much money as possible here. Yes. Gonna have to make money. Any of these games, we have to make money. Oh my god. Grand Townhouse. Why are you showing me real estate? Seriously. I'm not planning on staying. I've got assassins en route. All right, we have a... I mean, 6 or some where we can get some more traces on the board, the more likely your pursuers will be able to use against you. This is, I believe, an agent? Operative. Facing this reality, work together. Reckoner opposites will try to steal assets. So we want to definitely not let him do that. 17 seconds. We're going to cutting this a bit close. Another trace, which means I probably might be phoning over reinforcements next instead of trying to deal with us directly. We'll see what happens, okay? Now, I can directly attack him with the gun, but it's not going to be nearly as effective as you might think. Let's see. All right. All right, so yes, he's summoning reinforcements, gives an extra 40 seconds. Again, we're going to be using the Frau to try to get us a little time here. There were so many possibilities. We're only going to be able to trace down raw cash. The Frau is back to 300 seconds, as I stated before. Don't need the townhouse, obviously. Now, one of the things I can do is I can try to attack him by either using mystical ability or a weapon. Now, the thing is, there's no point as there's so many reinforcements, and I've got the Frau in my back pocket, as it were. So, we're not going to try to buy any more cash here. The 1 extra cash is just going to have to deal with it, but we do have the 2 items, which is going to be a good thing. So, once we get that done, boom. All right, so, raise cash hurriedly. We burned another trace there. We are not going to try to do another one. As I noticed before, you can lose it if you're in transit. And somebody screwed us over. And we have, oh, gods. If we had an official that I would right now be going for the medical credentials, because these are an asset you can carry around. Getting these makes the game a lot easier. But we can't forge the necessary requirements. So, unfortunately, you're going to have to leave that behind. There's the extra cash there. Now, with the Frau, I'm hoping to be able to give myself a little extra time, but I'm not sure what we can accomplish in that. Is it possible to get the medical credentials if I get really lucky and an official one's here? Yes. If, on the other hand, yeah, we're going to go for Baroque, as it were. Let's try, let's push the metal a bit. All right, so when this does happen, it's going to happen quickly. Okay, so it's 5 traces, which means the foe himself can actually show up. We can use that to our benefit, by the way. Especially in Vienna and a few other places. But in the meantime, we're going to be waiting on what this person does. Who they summon. Okay. I know. Glacial speed compared to me. There he is. Minor Wrecker Lord has entered the city. These guys can be tough. Gonna try to do what I can do here. These require 4 wounds to kill instead of 2. And I've only done it once, and oh my god, that was such a lovely discreet office. Ooh, worth 1. We can actually do this and get a trace off. No, not with the guy active. Not unless we can do so. So we're gonna have to basically consider this to be a dead in the water. Again, try to get lucky. Okay, so once the Reckoner's in place, all right. Reinforcements, he's gonna summon the foe. Ooh. We get to see what that looks like. Now, 40 seconds, 26 seconds for the cash to get through, so we will be able to do so. Will he get the foe get here in time with all the extra stuff we have? Let's find out. I don't think we should linger anymore. We know we're going to be able to do it since we have these 2 items that we have 40 seconds before we'll be leaving. So I say that it's time to see what life is like in Munich. All right, so we'll begin the process of leaving. Unfortunately, I took the gun first. There's a trick with that. If I hold the gun while I do so, then it won't grab it to go that, but I can't do it for the first one. So it's going to do that. But we are currently on our way out. We might get lucky and I'll be able to pull off an interesting trick with the foe. Okay, so. And boom. There goes this cache. We'll have to grab that. So it's a 50-second run to get out of here. And we're bringing our tranquility with us, however. All right, so there goes the last bit. Notice, of course, while you're leaving, you're going to be losing items you could possibly be using for other strategies. All right, there's the extra trace, but it really doesn't matter. Unusual weapon. Oh, that would have been good to have. 10 seconds. Additional 10 seconds on the way out. We've got the Frau. Ooh. Plus the cash is going to be grabbed too. I don't think I have enough cash anyways. Wait, no, it's worth 1. Oh, God, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Grab this weapon on the way out. Come on, we can do this. It's a little crazy, but, you know, so are my strategies mostly. Now, this is going to be an issue because when it grabs it, it's going to be now. Boom. There you go. That's going to place another 12 seconds. Yeah, we're cutting it close. But in the meantime, the foe has arrived. The foe is almost here. The frost pinches the windows and the shadows crisp the candle flames. I know what it means to sound. Yep, he's literally a demigod of death and war. So, this is the guy we've pissed off, in case you're wondering. But one of the things we can do with him, if I'm lucky, if I'm really lucky. There we go. Now, this is the chance you have to put in a defense. Basically, a connection. He's attempting to go after my assets, which I've already packed, so we're good there. Can possibly get one of my stolen decades, which would really suck. And this is the foe. Now, the foe's attack, you should have run further. We're going to throw in Frau, because she's probably told him to stay out of her country. I mean, seriously, go away. But if we lose a decade, we lose a decade, but we might be able to trade it off for something interesting in 20 seconds. We're not going to be able to pull it off. The interesting is that the Lygians, if you use them as a distraction against the foe, will take a literal bite out of him. But unfortunately, we're not doing a defiance run, which is where we start killing people like left, right, and center. So we're just doing an escape run. So in that case, we've lost these 6 traces behind us, the 2 people trying to murder us, including my old boss and bosses. And of course, we have arrived in Munich. Now, lovely Munich. Ooh, I forgot to. Oh, God. Give me a second. Yeah, there's some lovely flavor text, and I don't want to deny you that. So give me a second, and no, that's not that. It's Munich. Munich. Come on. Destinations. Don't make me seriously. We're in Munich. You would think I'd be able to find it through a link. Sorry about the delay. Munich. All right. Count Jennings has sent a scarred and silent servant to bring me to our meeting. Munich is still a gracious city, and the chestnuts are very lovely in spring. Hey, I don't think it's a spring. But hatred's old and new, and the provocations of the Great War have made it a difficult place just now. More so than the beer hall business last year with Ludendorff and that god-awful little Austrian. Yep. 1924, like in 2021, and DC, 1924, Hitler attempted a coup because the beer hall pushed, which failed, but there were so few consequences as a result that he essentially just took over a few years later. One of the things about that has been said about the January 6th coup attempt in America is that if you don't punish a coup, it's just a practice run for the time they will succeed. We're probably going to learn that the wrong way. Anyways, so here we are in Munich. Now, I'm probably going to end the episode here. Oh, there it goes. I could have done it from here. But there's a couple things to notice. 1, troubled. This place has seen better days. It's harder to purchase desirable things in troubled cities, and there may be other effects. Hey, we can start a war if we want. Not that I'm going to in this run, but I'll teach you how to do it. If you really want to know, I will tell you how to burn the world down. Cult of the Colonel. If my knowledge is correct, there's a Cult of the Colonel. Remember, the Colonel is one of the 2 hours, aka gods of Edge, and we'll go into him when we in a bit more detail when we deal with the cult, and of course the run that has to do with the Colonel, because as a advocate of the knife, the blade, the edge, you are in fact attuned to the gods of war. place of residence. You're here for now. Okay, so Munich here, obviously, the first thing we do is we're going to pop in and grab a ticket to get out of here in case our old friends that we left in the train station managed to track us down. And we're going to have our first companion. It's not really a companion, though. He just lives here. But 6 heart, because remember, Mr. Jennings is the... I thought it's hilarious, by the way, that he's 6 heart, because the thing is, the maximum amount of lore he asks for your character to write him for is 6. So I guess this is him having read stuff that you read. Of course, it's 2 years in the past, but mortal, he can be killed, although I don't think you can kill him in this particular run. Local contacts, someone who belongs here. Now, it's possible that some local contacts will join you. Now, if they're not, they don't. If they're just local, once you leave, they're gone. I don't think Jennings has that capacity. I have to check that out for the next episode. But in this particular run, he is worth attempting to do so. Now, we'll go over what these local contacts are, how you use them, and what exactly we're going to be doing here in Munich, in lovely Munich. You know, spring, the chestnuts are about. And when next episode. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is Fantastic World, saying farewell from Lovecraft Country, and of course the Exile DLC of Cultist Simulator. And if you like this, like, share, subscribe on the YouTube side. And if you really like it and you're still out there listening and in Twitch, hey, subscribe here and get notifications when I will be broadcasting. I can only usually give about 5-minute warnings, unfortunately, and my schedule's erratic. Probably will remain so for a while. Situations are not stable in many ways. In any case, if you like this, down below are links in the YouTube side. Down below there are links to the Gumroad payment platform. You can become a supporter at the Initiate, Cultist, or Acolyte levels with increasing benefits for each, all including additional material, unlocking episodes for the channel, and the next stretch goal, $3 away from, will be another series that on Monday for regular series. Right now there are 3 bonus episodes during the month for the first 3 stretch goals that are unlocked. Anyways, I will see you next time when we will venture through chestnut-laden Munich. Bye.